the red light is on. So this is typically when all the pressure starts to set in and people get really nervous and they're like, you know what, I'm good with the podcast. So that's right now. Well, before we jump right into it, let's do a quick sound check. Why don't you tell my listeners what you had for breakfast this morning?
For breakfast this morning, I had a cup of coffee, some Belvita.
Okay.
Uh,
That's the cheese,
that's
right?
it. No, it's little crackers.
Oh,
They're like
okay.
cinnamon sugar crackers.
Oh,
I
nice.
dip them in my coffee, make them
Okay.
soft. I eat them. They're
Nice.
pretty good.
What's the what's in the coffee? Is it just a black? You got the cream sugar. What are you throwing all in that coffee there? Special coffees?
No, so I picked up some Dunkin' Donut coffee yesterday, the hazelnut, and I
Okay.
threw some French vanilla creamer in there this morning. So I usually take it black, but I just threw a little creamer in there this morning.
Just a little bit of Monday flavor, huh? Just a touch.
A little Monday flavor, as
Nice.
I get my children off to school.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Wonderful. All right. Well, I think we're sounding good.
Okay.
Why don't we jump right into it here? So, Darius, why don't you tell my listeners what you are raising money for over on the platform StartEngine right now?
Absolutely. So, listeners, I am a huge fantasy sports player. I've been playing fantasy for 25 years. I know I sound young. I look young if you can see me, but I've been playing for 25 plus years. And I'm sick of the way you collect money. I'm sick of hounding my deadbeat friends for money. And I'm sick of never being paid when I win all these leagues that I'm in. So I endeavor to create a better way to manage money in fantasy sports. And that better way is called Leagueswype. So I'm raising money for Leagueswype. It's the e-wallet for fantasy sports. It allows you to collect, store, and pay out winnings in fantasy sports. We make it as easy as Venmo makes it to pay your friends for Taco Tuesday. That's what we're doing.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So is this an app that anybody can get right now? Where's kind of where you are in the process of this?
Yeah, so it's a web application right now. You can go to www.leagueswype.com and check us out. It's a cool web app. You can download it. It's in beta. We've been beta testing it for the last 6 to 9 months. We have, several users who really love it. So you can go check it out. We haven't launched in the app stores yet. We are raising capital now for further development of the MVP and the next iteration of the platform, which will be a native app for both iOS and Android. So we're looking to launch that in the course of the next 3 months.
Nice. Very cool. Very cool. So, you mentioned some of the pain points and how you got to this, but it feels like that this is a big play, right? Like everybody in the world is playing fantasy football, right? I even for my son's 8 and we're doing our first joint fantasy football this year. I got him into it. He's a stats monster, right? We're he's breaking down 1970s Pittsburgh Steelers teams. And I'm like, all right,
that's hilarious.
Or something else. So he's all into it right now. But where in this sort of journey as you're going through, do you go, I'm going to go ahead and take on these nuisances that we've all experienced. Everything you just mentioned, we've all experienced it.
Yep.
Fantasy football. But how do you feel like I'm going to go ahead and change this? I'm going to fix these things as opposed to like CBS fixing it or, Yahoo Sports or whatever it is. How do you decide that you want to fix it?
So first, I think Yahoo, CBS, ESPN, and all those guys, they are fine with offering games, the newest and latest games, right? They want users playing games on their platforms. They're happy with that. I think they're less concerned with the administration that goes along with running a fantasy league, right? I mean, they've solved one of the problems, which is drafting your teams, keeping track of the stats of your teams and all of that. But the money management aspect, they haven't fully addressed.
Right.
And I don't think they want to address it. I don't, that's not their specialty.
Mm-hmm.
They save that for the guys like PayPal to come in and add the payment functionality. And I thought about it when I started this journey. I was like, I've been playing for a long time. I know the pain points. I saw the DFS commercials. I saw FanDuel and DraftKings being advertised all over the place. They told me that I could be a millionaire if I play their games. And I was like, wow, I've been playing this for a long time. Never did I believe that I could become a millionaire. So I thought to myself, why don't I create the next great game?
Right. And what is that? And what for you, what was that like first step out of the gate? I mean, so even if you go, all right, I got the idea here. I'm going to do it.
Right.
I wouldn't know what to do. Just Google this, YouTube it,
Yeah.
What happens after that?
So I was like, let me create the next great game. And I started thinking, I'm like, well, what is the next great game? DFS has been around for a little while, and it gained a huge amount of popularity when FanDuel and DraftKings became, they got funded by the NFL, NBA, by large private equity. So a lot of people start knowing, a lot of people now know about the game. And just like you said, if I do create a next game, how do I keep CBS and NFL and ESPN off my back? They could just come out and create it. So I was like, I don't want to do that. I've been playing fantasy for a long time. I've been playing video games for a long time. And I know the games come and go, but very rarely does a new video game system come along and, threaten a PlayStation, an Xbox, or a Nintendo, right? So I determined then I wanted to be like the console and not the cartridge.
Mm-hmm.
Let me build something that's more infrastructure for the fantasy sports world, right? So at the same time, that's when I was starting. This was like in August of 2015. At the same time, we were getting ready for all these different leagues, and the commissioners in the leagues were calling me saying, hey, pay in. And I'm the commissioner of several leagues. I'm calling people. I was like, this is the pain point I want to solve, right? So let me figure out how to solve it. And to your question, how do I do this? I Googled it. I'm like, what is out here solving this problem? And what I saw was, again, some solutions that provided some solutions that solve some of the problems, but not all the problems, and not in what I felt were not very creative ways.
Mm-hmm.
So, I started drafting out what I thought a more ideal solution would look like. Then I called a guy who I thought he built a technology and sold it for a lot of money. He was a friend of a friend.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, let me start with this guy because he'll know who to contact to help me build this thing. So anyway, I got in contact with this guy. Turns out he didn't build the technology, but he knew the people that build technology. So he introduced me to a offshore tech team, and the fun began.
That's
So
nice.
That's how I got started. Yeah.
Now, what's when you're working on a project, I think of this sort of scope and scale, what's something that keeps you up at night? What's like the biggest pain point? I think I'm going to say actually outside of like capital, because I think everybody would want capital, right?
That's where I was going to start.
Yeah, well, everybody wants that, right? Everybody could use more of that, but maybe more internally to a project like this when you're designing a sports app. Is it licensing? But what is the thing that you see that if we got over this hump, we are good to go?
Yeah. So, yeah, you're right. Capital. I think number 2 on that list is users.
Mm-hmm.
Adoption. How do I grow this thing? How do I get enough eyeballs on it? How do I get people excited about it and using it on a daily? Right. So that keeps me up at night. How do I drive people to it? But for me personally, it's outside of users and capital. It's technology. How do I build this thing the right way? So again, that the users who use it love it, and that it's scalable. I'm a non-tech founder. So over the course of the last 3 years, I learned more about, setting up servers on AWS and getting people access to Git than I ever thought I would learn.
Yeah.
So I spent a lot of time. There's been a lot of sleepless nights trying to determine how do I make sure my technology is protected and built in a way that's scalable.
Mm-hmm.
So I've had interim CTOs along the way, along this journey, and I'm spending a lot of time vetting potential full-time CTOs for the project. I have some really, great technical partners, some people that are very well known in the fantasy sports space that's working on the project. But now I'm looking to bring someone in internal to be the lead to handle that process. I spend a lot of time on product development, and I want to spend more time on business development. So those sleepless nights where I stay up thinking about code and API integrations, I want to put that on somebody else and let me worry about making the contacts in the sports world that I need to grow the brand.
Now, I guess I'm a little, I don't know, I don't know this answer, but do you have to have licensing deals with fantasy
No,
football or anything like that for your type of product?
nope. So we're outside. We're not offering a game. What we're offering is ease of managing the money that moves within fantasy.
Within
So
fantasy, right?
yeah, so there's no licensing needed to do
Mm-hmm.
that. Similar to Venmo, right? Where you're transferring peer to peer. We offer those capabilities, but we also offer the ability to house money indefinitely.
Mm-hmm.
So we're platform agnostic, right? So we don't have to have a license agreement with any of the fantasy platform providers. We just want people who play fantasy for money to use our platform to house it and store it. Now, long term, we want to partner with the fantasy platform providers like a
Mm-hmm.
Yahoo and an ESPN to handle the money management that happens with people that utilize their league. So
Right.
that's definitely what we're intending to do. That's not far off.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I want people who play on other platforms, when they go to the platform and they want to play in a cash league where they're collecting money, I want them to see the Leagueswype logo. I
Sure.
want them to see that this fantasy platform is being powered by Leagueswype's money management system. And I want them to be happy to see that, because I want it to be the trusted brand in
Sure.
fantasy for handling that, the money management. And it's beyond just housing money for, the pay-ins and payouts. I mean, fantasy is much more dynamic now than it used to be. So the current solutions are more escrow services. Hey, throw us $1,000, put the $1,000 in our bank and we'll hold it for the 16 weeks of the
Mm-hmm.
fantasy football season. Then you tell us where it goes. Fantasy is much more dynamic now, right? You got auction
Yeah,
leagues.
auction leagues. That's what I'm thinking about.
Yeah,
Is auction.
you got people paying for free agents.
Yeah.
You got weekly payouts. You got people who are managing this using Excel spreadsheet, and then at the end of the year, they're trying to settle up.
Mm-hmm.
There's technology available that allows you to do that real time, and Leagueswype is putting that technology along with the money management platform together to make it easy and convenient for the fantasy sports universe.
That's cool. Now, do you have to follow like bank regulations, or are you in that sort of bubble?
That's part of it, yeah, and that's part of why people stay away from it. There's KYC, AML laws, all that stuff that I now know that we have payment partners that help us navigate those waters. But my background, I spent 10 years in private equity. I was the former CFO of a $1 billion private equity fund, and I was like the co-compliance officer. So
Yeah.
we're SEC regulated.
Yeah.
So navigating those waters aren't new to me.
Right.
So
You're
that's
good with
why.
that paperwork, right?
Yeah, I'm good with
On
it.
that
I'm
paperwork.
good with it. I'm good with it. I know how to navigate those waters. So, and that was part of the reason why this project appealed to me. One, I have a passion for fantasy sports. I've been playing for a long time. Of course, I'm an ex-athlete, and fantasy for us as athletes is sort of a way to stay competitive and, beat up on our friends. But also the whole money management aspect. I told you I was in private equity. I'm also a CPA, so I'm an accountant by trade. So it's just in my DNA to to have to know where money is housed and
Right.
how it's moving. You know, I see it as a big T account, you know, the ledger system that I'm creating. So it's really a marriage of my passion for sports and my expertise in money management that led me to create Leagueswype.
Nice. Are you going to win this week's for one of your teams? You got it.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I had Sammy Watkins.
Oh yeah, he put up some points yesterday.
He put up some points, man. I had him. I picked up Mark Andrews out of Baltimore. He threw up some points for me. So
well, they threw up a lot of points yesterday.
They did.
If you got anybody on the Ravens,
I think everybody on the Ravens. If you could have RG3 put up points.
I saw that too. When he went down, when he scrolled across the bottom, I'm like, did they put him as a running back or something?
I know.
How did he get points?
He had like a perfect QB rating.
I know.
Crazy, man.
I didn't even know he was in the league, actually.
Yeah.
Very interesting. Very interesting. So, I mean, so what does kind of the next year or so look like? What are some, you kind of mentioned a little bit, but what would be sort of like a big plan, and maybe what's some of the smaller plans that you're hoping to sort of get done in the next, 2 to 3 months or so?
Our big plan is brand awareness. I want to get Leagueswype in front of every fantasy player in the universe, and I want them to know the brand. I want them to understand that we're building this for them, to make their lives easier. And we plan to do that by building a product that they love. So over the next, 12 months, we're going to develop, we're going to listen to our users, and we're going to iterate appropriately. Over the last 12 months, we've gotten significant feedback, significant input from the user base, and we're planning to develop the next iteration of Leagueswype based on that feedback. And it's some really cool stuff. I think people are really going to love it. If you go over to our StartEngine page and look at the updates, I gave some insight and a snapshot into some of the things we're gonna do with the next iteration of Leagueswype. But our big plan is to develop and market Leagueswype heavily, and get as many people on the platform using it daily and loving it. We're gonna integrate or offer some real premium content. We're working on that partnership now to our users. And we're also looking at introducing a marketplace so that we can really add additional benefit to our users, right? We want membership to have its privileges. When you become a Leagueswype member, I want you to feel privileged. You become an owner in a league, and take advantage of that by offering some real cool discounts and access to premium services to our users. So yeah, over the next 12 months, man, get it out in front of people, get people loving it, develop, market.
That's cool.
Yeah.
How about, it's challenging, but what does like 5 years look like? I mean, is it something that you see fantasy sports continuing to get bigger and bigger? Does it move into more sports? Are we all moving money on systems like you're building right now? And we're like put your genie hat on and throw the ball out 5 years. What do you see? What do you envision?
Yeah. So as you know, the sports betting laws are changing, right? And I think you can see now, just over the last 3 or 4 months, how the relaxation of the sports betting laws are now influencing the game and the communication around the game. I mean, never before did you see the spreads and the odds and all this, on each game so heavily advertised and market. I think that's going to continue. The lines between fantasy sports and sports betting, they've always kind of blurred, right? So I think that the interconnection between those two will continue to grow and make I think it's going to continue to grow, and I think the size of the market will continue to expand. Sports betting has always been, it's been pretty prominent internationally. I think the U.S. is now going to catch up to the international, sort of sports betting play. And I think fantasy is going to be right behind it. It's going to end up being, sort of as big as sports gambling internationally. Right now, pay-in amounts for fantasy are expected to hit 14 billion in 2020, which is twice as much as what was reported last year. So I don't think that's going to slow down. I think now that it's expected, or I think now that it's easier to play fantasy sports and bet on sports, I don't see the market. I see the market growing. I don't think that's slowing down at all. Over the next 5 years, I think it's going to be easier to bet on sports, whether it's fantasy or legalized gambling. I mean, it won't be long before you walk into a stadium in the United States, in Yankee Stadium, in Wrigley Field, and order a hot dog and bet on the game at the same time, right? So
especially
I think
with those Raiders moving to Vegas. Right?
Exactly, moving to Vegas, absolutely. So I don't see it slowing down. I think there are going to be more players. I see international growth in the fantasy sports world. Soccer, cricket. I mean, you'll be surprised. There's some huge international followings now. And I don't see that slowing down. And I think that some of the US fantasy players will move beyond US games, baseball and football, and begin to participate in some of these other sports if money is moving more frequently, and it's just easier to bet, and the odds and all of that stuff. If the data is there and the stats are there, you see that now. You see that there are more people entering the space, offering more data, offering more statistics. That's going to continue. And if that data is there, you're going to have more and more people playing, because they don't have to necessarily be fans that love the sport. They just have to be able to manipulate the data. Right?
That's crazy.
So, yeah.
It's crazy. I didn't think too much about the, maybe people here enjoying rugby, and just looking at the stats and going, man, this team, they dominate time of possession. I don't know.
Exactly.
It is, Oh, it's crazy.
Yep.
It's crazy. Well, how can people find out more information? If somebody's listening to this and they're interested in learning more, not only about the equity campaign that's running right now, but just Leagueswype in general, what are some of the things that they can do to kind of reach out and get in contact with you?
Absolutely. So you can check us out on social media. Follow us on Twitter, Facebook, leagueswype.com. You can hit me up personally at PLAY at leagueswype.com. And Leagueswype is spelled LEAGUESWYPE. Hit me up at PLAY at leagueswype.com. More than happy to chop it up, tell you a little bit more about what we're building at Leagueswype. Tell you my picks for next week and and all that good stuff. But hit us up, follow us on Twitter, Instagram as well, leagueswype.com, and leave a note, man. We're very responsive. We want to hear from you. So
cool.
Check us out.
Awesome. Well, Darius, I appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule. I know there's a lot going on, a lot of plates spinning right now. And I think this is a very intriguing campaign. And I think for me, I just see the potential is gigantic. I think that you can be a major player in controlling money coming back and forth in these industries. Cause I think I agree with you. I think they're going to continue to get bigger and bigger and bigger. So like Darius said, if you guys have any questions, obviously reach out. I'll have the links in all the stuff that I'm sending out through all the social channels I'm doing. So reach out, connect. And Darius, I appreciate you taking time.
Thanks a lot. Appreciate it.
Thanks, man. Bye now.
All right. Take care.